The not having closure part was really devastating. But on top of that, he took my Winton. Took my Winton from me. He turned my son against
me. He had my dad full-time into my life until I was 16, right? They were moving to Atlanta and they said, hey, brother, we want you to move with us because we really want to bring this family together. Now, in my mind, I've been living in Cleveland my whole life. I've been living with my mom. It's been me and my mom.
You know how life is.
Right.
You know how life is. I'm just going to put the truth out there. Right. And I'm putting the truth out there, I should say. And you know, just let people be the judge.
Late, came down front with my girlfriend. Our seats were right here at the front, right by the stage. So we were sitting here. The stage was here. So he's just quiet. He just keeps staring at me. So I'm waiting on him to make me a part of the show so we can get on with the show. So he stayed quiet so long, staring at me. Now everybody in the club is looking at me. And so he finally realized, okay, I got to say something. He was like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know who this is, but I'm going to...
Goes back to the conversation of Marjorie Harvey, Steve Harvey's daughter. It was all known that she was spotted in them streets with Justin, and then she was spotted in them streets with Diddy, and they all tried to sit there and pretend like that wasn't what it was. Like, I don't know if anybody has not noticed, but ever since Diddy got pinched, they've all been trying to pretend like all of the stuff that we've seen that happened, that they was all involved, it didn't happen. If Marjorie Harvey was hanging out with, and it's kind of weird, like the whole relationship with Justin looks weird. He looks like Mini-Me with Dr. Evil. It's weird. Like, why are there people? Why is there sexual behavior going on? And why are people naked in front of their kids, G? Doing all kinds of stuff.
What does it feel like to lose everything while the whole world watches and still never get your side fully heard? Because for Mary Lee Harvey, the pain didn't just come from a divorce, that came from what she says happened after. The kind of pain that lingers, the kind that doesn't fade with time. She's spoken about it before. That devastating feeling of never getting closure, of being cut off not just emotionally, but from her own child. And when she talks about her son, there's a heaviness there that's hard to ignore, like something was taken, not lost. Years have passed, lives have moved on, reputations have been rebuilt, but for her, that chapter never really closed. It just went quiet until now. Because here's where things take a turn that not everyone saw coming. The claim isn't just about a messy breakup anymore. It's about what Mary believes was a deliberate effort to take her son away and turn him against her. She's alleged that Steve Harvey and Marjorie Harvey didn't just move on with their lives, they rewrote hers, cutting her out of the picture and reshaping her relationship with Winton Harvey. And now, the streets are talking again, because there are whispers that Winton, who has stayed relatively quiet all these years, might finally be ready to say something. Not just about his mother, but about everything. If that's true, it could change the narrative people have believed for decades. But to understand how things got this complicated, you have to go back to the beginning, before the fame, before the suits, before the empire. Back when Steve wasn't a household name yet, and Mary was right there beside him. They met in Texas, built a life together, and for a while, it seemed like a partnership rooted in loyalty and sacrifice. Mary has said she stood by him through the hardest times, when money was tight, when opportunities were uncertain, when the dream felt far away. She didn't just support him emotionally, she invested in him, reportedly putting up her own life savings to help him build his first comedy club, believing in a future that hadn't arrived yet. That kind of belief doesn't come lightly, and it doesn't fade easily either. And then, according to Mary, everything changed. This is where Marjorie Harvey enters the picture, and depending on who you ask, this is also where the real tension begins. Mary has claimed that Marjorie wasn't just a new chapter in Steve's life, but an overlapping one. She's alleged that there were moments that felt intentional, even calculated, like calls to the house designed to make her presence known, subtle moves that turned into very loud statements. Whether those claims are true or not, what's clear is that Mary felt targeted, pushed out, and replaced in a way that didn't just end a marriage, it unraveled her sense of stability. As Steve's career took off, the dynamic reportedly shifted even more. Success brought visibility, money, and influence, but according to Mary, it also brought distance. She's described a version of events where the man she once supported became someone unrecognizable, more detached, less considerate, and ultimately willing to walk away from the life they built together. The divorce didn't just mark the end of their relationship. It marked the beginning of a very different reality for her. She's spoken about losing access to the lifestyle she once had, struggling financially, and most painfully, becoming increasingly distant from her son. And that's where the story stops being just about a breakup and starts becoming about separation in the deepest sense. But what makes this even more complicated is that Mary isn't the only one who has raised concerns about how relationships played out around Steve and Marjorie. Over the years, there have been other voices, subtle, scattered, but enough to make people ask questions. From his first marriage to stories connected to Marjorie's past relationships, there have been claims, allegations, and perspectives that seem to echo similar themes: distance, division, and complicated family dynamics. Now, none of these pieces on their own tell the full story, but when people start connecting them, it creates a bigger picture that's hard to ignore. Is it coincidence? Or is there a pattern hiding in plain sight? And if Winton really is ready to speak, he might be the one person who can finally answer that. But just when you think the story couldn't get any more layered, that's when people start digging into the past. And that's where things take an even darker turn. Because over the years, there have been persistent rumors and controversial claims surrounding Marjorie Harvey and her life before becoming part of Steve Harvey's public image. Some reports and online chatter have linked her to high-profile figures from the 90s, including individuals who were later caught up in serious criminal cases. Now, to be clear, much of this remains in the realm of allegation and speculation, but that hasn't stopped people from connecting dots. There have been stories about investigations, claims that authorities once had an interest in her associations, and even statements from people in her past suggesting there's more to the story than what's publicly known. Whether any of it holds weight or not, the mystery surrounding her history has only added fuel to the narrative and made people question how much of the past has truly stayed in the past. And while those rumors continue to circulate, what's documented and undeniable is how intense things became legally between Mary Lee Harvey and Steve. Their fallout didn't just stay personal, it spilled into the courtroom in a very public way. At one point, Mary brought forward a series of explosive accusations, which ultimately led to a defamation case being filed against her. The outcome? A ruling that didn't go in her favor. She served time, faced serious legal consequences, and perhaps most significantly, was hit with a gag order that restricted what she could publicly say. But beyond the legal language and court decisions, there was a human cost, because during all of this, her access to her son, Winton Harvey, became even more limited. Imagine not just losing your voice publicly, but also losing the ability to reach your own child. For Mary, that silence wasn't just enforced by law, it became part of her reality. Fast forward to now, and suddenly, that silence doesn't feel so permanent anymore. Because lately, there's been a shift, subtle but noticeable. People are starting to talk again, and at the center of it all is Winton. For years, he's largely stayed out of the spotlight when it comes to family drama, keeping things polished and private. But according to growing whispers online, there may be more going on beneath the surface. Some say he's been carrying unresolved feelings for years, conflicted about what happened between his parents, and possibly questioning the version of events he grew up with. And now, the biggest rumor of all, that he may be ready to speak. Not in vague posts or indirect comments, but in a way that could finally open the door to everything that's been kept behind closed doors. And if that happens, it wouldn't just be about one relationship or one family dispute. It could unravel something much bigger. Because the Harvey name has been tied to more than just entertainment headlines over the years. There have been controversial associations, public scrutiny around certain relationships, and moments that raised eyebrows but never quite got full explanations. From social circles to industry connections, some critics have suggested that there's a deeper web of influence and alliances that the public hasn't fully seen. Again, much of this exists in speculation, but when multiple narratives start overlapping, people start paying attention. And if someone from inside the family were to confirm or deny any of it, the impact could be massive. Which brings everything right back to where we started. A mother who says she never got closure. A family that built an empire, while controversy quietly followed in the background. And a son who may finally be at a point where staying silent is no longer an option. So the real question isn't just whether Wynton Harvey will speak, it's what happens if he does. Because if even a fraction of what's being whispered turns out to be true, this story isn't just about the past anymore, it's about everything that could come out next.